Coeur School District number 76 Board of Education regular meeting at LaSalle School, October 21st, 2014 to order. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Linda Bailey.
Here.
Pam Greiner.
Here.
Brenda Cagle.
Here.
Val Reagan.
Here.
Julie Troop, absent. Rebecca Kearns, here. Judy Strong.
Present. Mr. Aldridge, we're going to turn it to you for your student-focused activities for us.
Well, today I am pleased to introduce to you the Parkview Student Council members. Ms. Conway, the staff representative, she can come up and give us an overview and an introduction of the students, and then we want to hear from the students and all of their great things that they're doing. So.
Great. Hi. My name is Tammy Conway. I am the 5th grade teacher at Parkview, and as he said, student council advisor. This is my 3rd year, and that's about all I'm going to say. I'm going to introduce 3 of the 4 of our members of student council. When I call your name, you want to just stand up. Our president is Joseph Fields. Our vice president is Jared Hinton, and our secretary is Kiana Bolding, and Brianna Marble is our treasurer, and she couldn't be here tonight. So I think, Kiana, if you'd like to go first, come on up.
You can pull it down, Kiana. There you go.
Hi, I'm Kiana Bolding, and I'm the Student Council Secretary. I will be talking about what Student Council is in general and what we are involved in. In the near past, we have sold Fannie Mae candy and are now selling Halloween candy grams. Candy grams are at Parkview are sold during both lunches. Recently, we've been asked to help Pace with their fall festival and chili supper. I've heard that this is the first time that they've asked us to help them with something. We also have Red Ribbon Week. Sorry.
That's a tough one.
Coming up this year, we have the theme of staying drug-free. Also, coins for turkey and adopt a troop. Student Council is Parkview's student government. We choose who we think would be best for the jobs we have to do. And I believe that covers my part, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Joseph Fields, and I'm Student Council President, and I will be talking to you about the Adopt a Troop program. Adopt a Troop is a program where a student places supplies that they want to donate in one of the boxes outside of the office. These supplies that are donated are sent to a soldier touring in Afghanistan. The reason for this program is so we can show our gratitude and support for those men and women who support us. Adopt a Troop is not only at Parkview, it's district-wide. That way students at LaSalle can show their support as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Is there a list of those items?
What's that?
Is there a list for those items?
Oh, let's hear him and then we can ask. I'm not sure.
Hello, my name is Jared Hinton and I am Vice President of Student Council. Today I'm here to talk about why it's important to be in Student Council and what it teaches you. Student Council can actually teach you responsibility as well as respect to others. And why it's also important is that, well, I mean, if you don't have responsibility, I mean, what's the use? I mean, it is important to be in Student Council because it also teaches you to respect others and we are also doing a lot of these things, like they said, about to support the troops. and that was really good. And the reason I came to student council because I wanted more responsibility, and I wanted to earn respect from others in my community, and I wanted to help out others.
Great. Hey, Jared, you stay there. Joe and Kiana, can you guys come on up? Yeah, I know, this you weren't prepared for all of this, I know. Well, we had a question of, is there a list of the items for the Adopt a Troop?
Yes, there is.
Okay, where can we get that?
I believe it is.
Oh, Ms. Conway, all right, all
Can we
right.
get it posted on the website?
I can post it on the website, on the student council site, sure.
That'd be great.
And we'll work on putting it on putting a link.
There is a student council page that is linked to the
Right,
district
right.
website.
Maybe we can have an Adopt a Troop that
Yes.
they can go right to it,
Mhm.
link to it. Okay, very
Great.
good, very good. Now, what grade are you guys in? Because you didn't say that. Sorry.
8th grade.
You're all eighth grade?
Well,
I'm 7th.
7th.
All right, and board members, any questions that you might have?
We appreciate you coming tonight.
Thank you.
And I hope you continue to be in student council at the high school.
Thank you.
Cool. All right. These candygrams, right? The candy's not being eaten during class, right?
Some teachers allow it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry?
it depends. Some teachers allow it, but I'm not too sure.
Okay.
Depending on which teacher you have.
They're taking it home.
Yeah, please do.
But you sell the candy gram itself during lunch, right? But you're not distributing the candy during lunchtime.
No.
Okay, good.
I
That's
have a
the real
question
part.
for you. So what did you think about the opportunity of combining efforts with PACE?
I thought it was really cool that they came and asked us to help them out.
I thought it was nice considering we've never had really a chance to collaborate with them in the past, and it's nice to be able to be a part of the first time we've ever, teamed up with PACE to do anything.
Now, I was at that last meeting and listened to them, and they, were talking about maybe getting student council involved, and I just thought that was a great idea, so.
Cool.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you guys thought so as well.
Well, Mr. McCormick, you had your hand up about the list.
It went out in the LaSalle newsletter as well.
Went out in the LaSalle newsletter? Okay, great. So, what's the biggest thing that you guys have learned about student council so far?
I think it's responsibility. Definitely.
Okay, Kiana?
The responsibility of taking notes and remembering things and being able to volunteer.
Oh, all right, good. Jared?
Managing a schedule.
Managing a schedule, great. Those are all great skills, so thank you, lady and gentlemen. You're done. You are dismissed. The LaSalle newsletter, okay. All right, I thought that was all taken care of last year, so. The LaSalle newsletter, did the board,
We used to get it in packets.
oh, in the packets, I see, okay. It's online. We can definitely send them as needed, so, okay. Very good. How do you get the Parkview? It's email, right? Yeah.
Mr. Jokish sends us this letter, right? That's not what goes home, that's not the newsletter.
Right,
We don't get it either.
okay.
That's true.
You guys send an email.
Goes
Yeah,
to
he
the
does.
staff.
Right.
Oh,
And to
okay,
the
that's
board.
right.
That one we get.
Okay.
yes.
All right, no problem. We will, I thought, that's my confusion, because I thought that was all the same thing that, and was taken care of last year, but it wasn't, so we will definitely.
If you stay here, then kind of forgets about it. When the school year's over and then.
I could.
Yeah.
So, all right. Strong.
All right, thank you for bringing the student focus to us. Public participation is at this time, so if you'll, one at a time, stand if you have anything to present to the Board of Education tonight. You're welcome to at this time. Seeing no participation, we're going to go on to results driven, and back to you.
All right. Results driven is the principal's awesome results, and we will start with Mr. Jokish at Parkview.
Good evening, everyone. And first off, I want to thank Ms. Conway and our student council members for coming here tonight. They're 3 terrific students, and 2 of them are 8th graders, and East Peoria is going to be real lucky to be getting them next year. For my report, first off, yesterday I was fortunate to be able to go to the Illinois Principals Association Conference, which was awesome. And one of the sessions that I attended dealt with the new science standards, which we've come to refer to them as NGSS, the Next Generation Science Standards, and now we've changed it, I found out, which they're now called the New Illinois Learning Standards for Science, which is very confusing. But the main emphasis on this is taking a hands-on approach to science. The session really focused on how studies show that typically the traditional way that we learn science, I know I had a lot of teachers where it was, they would put notes up on the chalkboard, it was definitions. Statistically, when you learn science that way, you have no retention of that. You don't remember it. However, I remember a lot of the cool science experiments that I did growing up. And I remember specifics behind those. And the emphasis with the new science standards are a hands-on approach where we want students to be scientists. And I know I was pretty proud of the fact that we've really taken great strides at Parkview in taking that hands-on approach. This week we conducted our potato launchers, which again, it's a fun activity for kids, but they learn about trajectory, the physics behind what causes that to launch and shoot up, and the wind and all that. They research it and they write papers about it. It's not just they get to launch these potatoes. There is science behind it. And I know Ms. Starman in 6th grade last year, we participated in the science fair for the first time, and she's building on that and incorporating more experiments this year. And our 5th grade teachers are utilizing the science lab more and more. So I was just very happy and proud of the fact that we're ahead of the curve when it comes to these new science standards. This week we have parent-teacher conferences. We are...
Hold on, before you move from the science standards, Mr. Jokish, we are also working in collaboration with East St. Louis and Robine school districts regarding the science curriculum and the new science standards.
Are we going to East St. Louis, or are they coming to us?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna send down cars to bring people up here. No, East Peoria. That's a long commute. East Peoria and the Robine School District. I apologize.
We're not doing St. Louis?
No.
Oh. I wrote it down. I was thinking, wow, that's Kansas area.
No. I can call and try to arrange something, but I think we'll just stick with East Peoria and the Robine School District regarding these new science goals and how they're going to be implemented in our schools. So we have 2 teachers from Parkview, is that right?
Miss Beal and Miss Starman from Parkview.
Yes. And 2 teachers from LaSalle. Do you remember who they were? I don't remember.
Trotter and Mrs. McIndoll.
Mrs. McIndoll and Miss Trotter. There you go. So 2nd and 4th grades. So we will be in collaboration with the other 2 school districts to put those things together. So sorry, I want to throw that in there.
And Miss Beal has her science certification along with Miss Starman. That's kind of how they were chosen. Mr. Kleesner begged me not to go, so I sent the other 2. Anyway, we've got parent-teacher conferences coming up on this Thursday, Friday, and we're looking forward to that. It's the end of the first quarter of the school year. It's been a very successful start so far, and we're looking forward to those positive parent interactions. It's always a nice break in the school year to take those 2 days to meet with parents. Next Friday at Parkview, we are having our, it's a Warrior Way celebration. It's Halloween themed. Next Friday is October 31st. And to continue to be a PBIS certified school, one of the things we're required to do is have celebrations roughly once a month. So we thought this was a good time with Halloween being a Friday to do it then. So we're having a superhero theme, and in conjunction with Red Ribbon Week, we're encouraging students to dress up as superheroes. And we're having a superhero costume contest. PACE is providing funding for this, and we just have a lot of activities throughout the day. And there will probably be a lot of candy eaten in the classroom on that day. I believe that's when those Halloween candygrams go out. Let's see here. On
Ms. Weaver, you'll be picking up wrappers and gum off the floor, I'm sure. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and thanks to Ms. Weaver for never complaining about the excess of candy and popcorn that we'll have on that day. And then we're having an all-day reading day on November 25th. This is the third time we're having this. We're making it an annual tradition. Last year we kind of kicked around when the best time to do it was, and we decided the day before Thanksgiving. We wanted it to be kind of an exciting day, something that kids want to come to school for, and not just be emphasized, not be focused on, okay, we've got a 5-day weekend coming up. So that's on Tuesday, November 25th. The first year I spent the day up on the roof. Last year I had to dress up as a stupid Packers fan. So I've asked for requests for what I can do to humiliate myself. If the students are participating in the all-day reading thing, it's all for a good cause. One of the things we're adding to it this year is the class competition. We really liked with Operation ISAT the way we partnered different, like the 5th grade with the 8th grade, and that's what we're doing this year. So we've got 6 different groups, and the group that has the most accelerated reader points wins. They get to eat lunch first for a week, and we'll have another incentive for them that goes along with it. Currently, the combination of Miss Conway's 5th grade class, Miss Millicent's room, and Mr. C's 8th grade class are the leaders with almost 600 accelerated reader points. So that number is going to be go way up in the next month. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Wonderful. Mr. McCormick, what's going on at LaSalle School? What are awesome things going on here?
Well, let's see. I too was fortunate enough to attend the Illinois Principals Convention yesterday with Mr. Jokish, and he and I went to a few of the same sessions, but as he mentioned one that he went to, I went to one and got an introduction to KIDS, K-I-D-S, which has to do with the new kindergarten developmental survey that will start next year. And you guys will be hearing more about that in the future. But it really takes a look at kindergartners and how they're developing, gets away from the idea of using grades and more into different levels of development. And it's very interesting, and really our teachers have been trained in it and seem to be embracing it. They like the idea of looking at the kids that way, and it gives the parents a little better feedback as well. It was mentioned earlier, but at our last PACE meeting, which was just last week, the idea came up of a fall festival, and we're trying to squeeze it in here while it's still fall and not too close to Christmas. I don't know that we've got an exact date, but we were looking at November 14th, doing something here at LaSalle in the gym in the cafeteria, a little food, some games, and that was why the idea came up of partnering with Student Council to help run the games and give the kids something to do, not just come here, eat and leave type of thing, but be able to interact for a couple hours in that evening. There'll be more information about that as things kind of get firmed up and into place.
And I have a meeting on Friday morning with the PACE officers regarding some of the details and everything about that. So
great, great.
Can I interject? I'm pretty certain it is the 14th because Student Council is partnering with them, and so it's the 14th because it's going to be Student Council volunteers along with PACE volunteers.
A couple weeks ago we had Grandparent Week here at LaSalle, and I believe all reports are that it was quite successful. I do want to thank our wonderful kitchen staff, because when I brought the idea to them, all they did was groan. I also want to thank our custodial staff and the PACE volunteers that helped out, and then really everything seemed to go very, very smoothly. Even the kitchen staff said, you know, that wasn't that bad. So it went very well. I got to interact with a lot of grandparents, great-grandparents, and even a great-great-grandmother who was 93 years old who wanted to come say hello to me. And you know what? That is wonderful that they're involved in their kids' lives. Perhaps the only thing I regret is not arranging more surrogate grandparents to come in, but we've already got that covered for next year. Faye Plunkett, who I'm sure a lot of you know, has actually said, I'll get you people. So we had a few students who were a little upset. We tried to partner them up. You know, but when you've got 20 kindergartners that don't have a parent or a grandparent or anybody here, it's hard to find somebody for everybody. But that's something we're gonna try and take better care of next year. But again, we got a lot of good feedback on that, and a lot of people who said it went a lot better than the year before, especially with the book fair. Thank you, Mrs. Kern, for running the book fair, and she is already committed to doing it again next year. We're very excited about that.
This was your last year.
She did, I just refused to acknowledge that.
He's in denial.
I've been trying to find somebody for you, but. I did want to mention that like the adopted troop that's going on, plans are in the work for Mrs. Theory's class to adopt a dolphin. They have studied the dolphins from the movie Dolphin Tale and Dolphin Tale 2. One is Hope and the other is, I can't remember the names of the dolphins. Summer and Hope, thank you, see. But they are real dolphins that live in Clearwater, Florida, and they've studied them. They've done science experiments about, you know, how they survive, things like that. So now they are working towards adopting one for a period of a year where they get pictures, updates, stuffed little dolphins, and Mr. Thompson has re-requisitioned the pool to be put out back so we could actually adopt a dolphin, but I'm not sure how that's going to go through. And last month we've had visits from the police and fire departments, but both were good. Fire department was here for Fire Prevention Week, did a couple assemblies, as well as supervised our fire drill that day. Kids really enjoyed that, seeing the guys all fully suited up, and guys took time to explain all the different things they do, the ways they help. Our kindergarten class was studying different occupations people can have working in the community, and so we were fortunate enough to get one of our police officers to come in for that, and he visited with the class as well. He had some interesting questions for police officers by kindergartners, you know, but they enjoyed having him here. Let's see. I don't think Mr. Jokish mentioned it, but obviously we've got parent-teacher conferences coming up this Thursday and Friday, so we are gearing up for that. And in November, I believe it's on the 10th, we will have a blood drive here at school. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick. All right. For my reports, I am going to introduce Mr. Tom Crabtree and Steve Nicholas, who's going to give us a presentation regarding our bond status, abilities. Where we are in our bonding situation. And Mr. Hyde was pulled away from our meeting, and he does, since he had talked or knows a number of you, he was more than willing to come back at another time to meet with the board to discuss any kind of particulars that we might have. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Crabtree and let him tell us about what's going on.
Great, thank you very much. Pleasure to be here, and you've already started my segue. Kevin, of course, sends his regards, but as you'll see on the first page there, it is very important to note that part of the Stiefel-Nicholas advantage is the team that we bring. Obviously, we have 5,000 folks, being one of the largest broker-dealers in the country, but for the school district specifically, that means getting a group of 5 folks who will be intimately involved in your transactions. So even though Kevin could not be here tonight, I'm happy to stand in his stead, not his shoes, because they are a big shoe. But if during the financing any questions were to arise and Kevin were somewhere else, that means that you'll always have somebody available. And we really pride ourselves on that ability to bring you the top level of service throughout this transaction. I will not spend very long on Stiefel itself. It's pretty boring to hear chest thumping, but I do want to make you aware of some of the benefits that Stiefel brings to your transaction. On page 3, I just want to give you a little bit of an outline of the fact that Stiefel-Nicholas is a national broker-dealer. We have 16 offices around just Illinois, which is meaningful for the district because really, ultimately, our goal as an underwriting firm in working with you on your bond issue is to make sure that you get the most appropriate product, but also the lowest cost financing. And that broad network of brokers around the country provide us the outlet for your security product. That means we are partially bringing in as much demand for your product, your bond issue, as possible. It's simple supply and demand. The more demand that we can create for the limited supply, then we drive down that interest rate. And that large national presence helps us to do that. It's a little bit different for the situation that we're going to talk about tonight, and I'll tell you that comparison in just a moment. I do want to just simply highlight the fact that we are fortunate enough to be able to be the #1 underwriter in Illinois, working with K-12 schools, as well as nationally the #1 underwriter. This, again, simply means that we are able to bring you the best tailored products from our experience working within Illinois and nationally that will always be able to find the product that suits your needs and not trying to fit a product that might not be ideal for your situation. That information is listed on page 4. Page 5 is some of the folks that have we worked with to help us to get to that status. I've already mentioned a little bit of page 6, and just in the interest of time, I won't reiterate that information, specifically because on page 7, I would typically go through what a public offering looks like. And that simply means in most cases, not all, but in a typical bond issue, our job is to, again, structure an amortization debt for the district and then marry buyers and sellers. You're the seller of the debt, and we bring the buyers to the table. Those are all the folks from someone just down the street who's investing in municipal bonds for their retirement, all the way up to State Farm, who's investing for pensions and insurance funds. And it's our job to put you together and, again, create that demand for your limited product to develop the lowest possible interest rate. The difference tonight is that because of the size of your issue, that would not be the best type of sale for the district to consider. On a smaller issue, we're able to work directly with what we call sophisticated investors. That basically means banks or sophisticated individuals around the country who understand this product, and we're able to avoid some of the overhead costs for the district while still attracting a very low interest rate utilizing that distribution system that I mentioned earlier. The benefits, again, are not only the lower overhead cost, but also avoiding some of the issues of timing as far as administration time, helping us to prepare the marketing documents and the rating presentation. Typically, we're very proud of the fact that we would help you prepare a rating presentation to help you put the best foot forward to the rating agencies, Standard & Poor's, Moody's. But again, with this size of issue, we're able to forego that time investment from the district as well as the cost associated with that rating, which is relatively significant, and still be able to market the district's bonds and take the time on our part to do those types of presentations individually with some of our sophisticated investors. And that means that you have less regulation, essentially, continuing disclosure information, rating upgrades every few years, and that sort of thing. And the overall cost to the district is therefore lower, while we avoid the overhead costs and some of the continuing costs of that issuance, as well as legal costs. So typically, I would tell you the process, which would be rating and marketing and that sort of thing. But instead, the recommendation is to go with a little more streamlined process. And the additional advantage to the district is that I know you've had a history of good relationship with local institutions, and we can include them in that process so that they have an opportunity to participate in the financing, but also leverage our network of potential buyers to make sure that we're achieving the lowest possible interest rate for you. So in the end, whether that comes from a local institution or a national institution, we've made sure that the taxpayers have the very best opportunity during this financing. Again, just for the interest of time, I won't go through much of the Stiefel information. If you have any questions, I'm happy to go over any of those now before we move into specifics about your opportunities. I will point out on page 14, it's very nice for me to mention all the wonderful things that I think Stiefel brings to the table. But I also encourage you to look at some of those folks we've listed there as references on page 14 and discuss with them how they feel the process has gone and why we would be the best fit for the district's financing. After tab A, we've included some information that specifically addresses the district. Page 17 made it nice and easy for us. There is just one bond issue outstanding, and that's part of the specific timing reason for our discussion tonight. And as you'll see, you just have one more payment in 2014, $210,000 on that 05 financing. And the final payment, yes.
I'm sorry, final payment.
And that final payment is coming up next year in December of 2015. But you'll note that the 2015 payment is significantly smaller than what we have this year. And as you all are very much aware now, being on the board, we need to start planning today for the next year's financing schedule for the district to affect essentially the 2014 levy payable 15, and make sure that we manage that bond and interest tax rate to make it as palatable as possible for the community.
Just if I could step in.
Please.
The 2014, the par amount, which is $210,000, that's the principal payment, and then there's interest on top of that. So in December, you will see that we will make a payment to First Mid-State. That was some of the information that was provided in your packet. That'll go out on December 1st, that payment. Ms. Bailey, you have it open. What's the interest? What's the total payment going to be?
$45,000.
It's $217,125.
217.
Last one?
No, not the last one.
Oh,
This
I'm
year's.
sorry.
I'm sorry. This
Okay,
year's.
yeah.
Sorry.
Right at the top, yeah.
$217,000 will be our payment on December 1st of this year, and then December 1st of next year, we will have that $45,000 payment.
Plus interest.
But we could certainly discuss rolling that smaller amount into this issue. We don't have a cash flow problem, so that's really here nor there for us. So just a discussion point.
So now that we have an understanding of what your current bond situation is like, if we're thinking about an additional bond issue, we have a couple different hurdles to be aware of. Page 18, the first of those is your overall debt limit. That debt limit is set by state statute at 6.9% of your EAV. We've looked at the EAV history just to get a little bit of an understanding of where your EAV has been, and of course that impacts the type of revenue that we can expect from the bond and interest levy. On the left-hand side of the page, you'll see at a total EAV, which also includes TIF and enterprise zone values, which is a little different than your rate-setting EAV. You have a total debt limit of $4.09 million. That outstanding debt currently, even though we're about to make a payment on that, is $255,000, and still leaves a remaining capacity of 3.8. So essentially, you could today issue 3.8 million of bonds if needed. On the right-hand side of the page, again pertinent to today's discussion, would be one type of bond issue that you could consider is a working cash bond issue. And again, inside of the overall debt limit comes the working cash issuing authority limitation. And we've gone through that calculation for you on the right-hand side of the page, which again draws from the EAV and the education fund rate of the district. One of the slight benefits of actually being tax capped is that you have a now higher maximum ed fund rate. So in this formula, you get a slight benefit from tax caps, which, as we all know, is unusual to say the least. So going through that formula, it's a two-pronged choice, and it's a lesser of test. Currently, as we stand today, you could issue, as you see outlined in bold, $999,000. That takes into account your current working cash fund balance of about $830,000. If you wanted to issue more than that, it's not really an issue to do that because you are allowed to, of course, move some of those funds out of the working cash fund, essentially freeing up capacity. And that's typically what's done in advance of a working cash issue. So even though you see that $999,000 figure, $996, the reality is, for your consideration, that you could go closer to that 1.8 million figure. And we discussed the exact details of that, but I want you to be aware of that in your thought process, that your more material limit is more like the 1.8 million. On the next page, again, now that we've gone through some of the basics and outlined some of the guidelines, what are some potential options? What we've done is we've looked at your bond and interest levy, specifically putting on your current payments that are left. So working from left to right, we've just outlined what tax year we're looking at. We've of course factored in your EAV, assumed for future bond issue no growth, and that's for two purposes. One, in keeping with our conservative nature of trying not to stretch our expectations, but also, again, part of what we're looking at here is a, for best explanation, a simplified option chart. And that is simply because under today's rules, our industry has become much more regulated than we were a year ago, specifically relating to the type of advice that we're allowed to give, or what could be deemed as advice. without currently being engaged. We look forward to the opportunity to hopefully be engaged with you at some point. And once we have gone past that engagement hurdle, then we're able to give you more specific details on potential financings. Suffice to say, because of the recent regulations from the Dodd-Frank Act, we have to stay to a more simplified style of presentation tonight. So I apologize that it's not more robust, but we have to work within that framework until further notice, essentially, from you. So again, that's part of the reason for the 0% growth. We didn't want to get too specific there. As you'll see, we've outlined the 2005 bond issue. This year, as we noted, is about $217,000. That equates to just under 37 cents on your B&I levy. Next year, that will fall to almost 8 cents. That means, of course, that you have the potential for adding to your bond and interest levy without an increase to your taxpayers from last year's tax bill. If we continue with that theme of keeping the tax rate as it was last year, we've highlighted 3 different options for you in the pink, the green, and the blue bars. Essentially what we've done is we've kept that tax rate right at 37 cents for either 5, 7, or 10 years.
So this amount and these terms and this interest would produce no increase in the real estate taxes for our community. There would be no
correct.
Increase.
Right, there would be no change from what
No
they saw
change
in the
in what
bond
we
interest
have right
levy.
now.
Right, this year.
Okay.
And so just when you think about a mortgage, you can obviously borrow more if you're borrowing a 30-year with the same payment as a 15-year with the same payment. And you'll see below each one of those columns in the corresponding color, the 5-year approximate, again, because there's lots of assumptions that have to be made, but for tonight's purposes, the approximate type of fund, project fund you could expect from a 5-year financing is just under $1 million, $987,000. With a 7-year borrowing, of course, it's higher at $1.3 million, and at 10-year, we're essentially maxing out your working cash borrowing capacity in a 10-year financing at 1.77, 1.78.
Okay, but Tom, in year 7 and 10, it's gone up to 1.3 million and 1.7 million.
Right.
But to do that, we would have to move some of the money that we have in working cash fund right now
Correct.
to other funds that are of need and make that transfer.
Correct.
In order to get that capacity in our debt limit.
That's
Debt
exactly
limit,
right. That's exactly
Okay.
right.
Just want to make sure I've got it all going in my head.
And that allows you, again, to stay at that 37 cents during the duration of the bond issue, given no change in EAV. If the EAV were to change, of course, that rate could go up or down accordingly, or inversely, essentially. The other item to note here is that, again, because of the fun of tax caps, we have another guideline that we have to be aware of. Fortunately, the district does have a debt service extension base. That essentially means that tax caps, like your aggregate extension base on your operating funds, you have a maximum annual amount that you're allowed to levy, a dollar amount. For bonds, similarly, for non-referendum bonds, meaning you don't go to the voters in a full referendum, you have an annual maximum that you're allowed to levy in the B&I fund. And for the district, that was originally $217,000. It has now grown with CPI. That's a new change in 2009, that debt service extension base, DSEB, grows every year with CPI. But you could actually have a larger annual payment than that 37 cents and still be within your debt service extension base. So again, it's kind of two goals. One goal is obviously staying within the current tax rate of 37 cents, but also being mindful that under the law, within your guidelines, you could have a higher payment than 37 cents a year as allowed by your debt service extension base. But that we didn't contemplate increasing that tax rate because that might not be preferable for the public. Lastly, again, any questions? But lastly, I'll just mention timing. Because we are talking about the levy cycle, typically, and you will approve your levy in December. But fortunately, with the bond and interest levy, we are allowed to make changes to the bond and interest levy up until March 1. So that gives us, I won't say just enough, but just enough time acting soon to be able to complete a bond issue in time to affect the 2014 levy, which otherwise would drop and we would have missed the opportunity to manage that levy and keep it constant. There are, of course, lots of other ways to skin this cat. We can manage the levy in different ways, but I wanted to give you one swing of the pendulum to one side to show you what that opportunity was. And we're happy to scale that back as you wish, but and we can discuss that further, of course. But just want to note again on the timing that time is somewhat of the essence to think about the process going forward from now until completing an issue in February.
So we have till February to get this done,
That's essentially right.
as long as we start the process.
Yeah, it takes, specifically also because you're talking about a working cash bond issue, there is a 30-day petition period that needs to.
It's on page 20.
Exactly.
It kind of outlines the sample timeline, 8 to 12 weeks. So your 2 to 3 month window, board meeting, approve the resolution. We have to publish, 30-day petition period. We have to have a hearing, and then we solicit bids from, or they solicit bids from their investors. We receive the bids. We have a board meeting to approve the purchaser and the rates and close on the bond sale 2 weeks later. So it can be done in a fairly streamlined fashion, you know, as far as government
Nice if we
financing
would've
goes.
started a couple months ago, would have maybe been better.
Mhm.
Okay.
And we had a special meeting and talked about bonds and interest back in June.
Not how much.
No, we didn't, because I was like, don't want to do it.
No, there was.
No, you did have a meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there
So
was
you
did talk
talk.
about
Yeah.
And
how
the
much
only,
we were going to levy.
the term, how much, and the term of the bond. So that's where we're at this point, and we're just looking to start the process. Tom, is that middle chart there, PV rates,
Yeah.
bond funds, PV amount? What's that little chart there?
So again, because we're working under a limited amount of information that we're allowed to give under our current regulations, our new regulations, we have to do essentially a PV analysis, a present value analysis. We simply look at a very straight line projection of what your B&I levy will produce as far as revenue, and we take the present value of that to today's dollars, given an estimated interest rate of what we have seen in other similar issues. So we're not allowed to make specific analysis given the district's credit rating, given where we think the bonds would sell. We have to compare in a very objective manner now what your revenues would support on an objective, non-specific basis. But again, even though this is what I would call general information given the math, it still gives you a very close approximation to what you could expect. And it gives you the opportunity to think about what kind of length, and what kind of final borrowing amount that would be appropriate for you. And I will note, as far as the timeline as well, you're allowed to essentially stop the process whenever you'd like. So if there was concern about moving forward and then not knowing the exact answer before you start the process, that's completely okay. The way the process works is you have to begin the process to essentially authorize yourself in the end to issue the bonds. At no point until essentially the day of sale, which would be in January or February, would you be at all obligated. Essentially, you would, at the beginning of the process, notify the public of the potential to issue X amount of bonds. You could even ask for the maximum and scale that back at any time up until the time of sale. But if you started a lower figure and notify the public of only half of your borrowing capacity, that's the maximum that you could borrow even at the end of the process. And even if you chose to completely arrest the process halfway through, that's fine as well. You have no obligation to move forward, either from us or from the process itself. So I just want to give you that comfort that if you choose to move forward, even in a cautious fashion, you always have the chance to change stream.
Great. So our next steps, I suppose, help me, correct me if I'm wrong. Go ahead.
The next step really is whether you want to move forward with beginning the 30-day petition process. And that's simply having on your agenda in either November would be preferable or December would still be acceptable. Having that resolution of intent, simply stating that you have the potential to ask the public for the authority, and we would then publish that notice in the paper after the meeting, whether it be in November or December, and there would be a 30-day period that if there were 10% of registered voters signing a petition to stop the process, otherwise it would move forward and you would have the authority to issue the bonds at the end of that 30-day process. So that's really the next thought process is, do you really officially start the process in November or even December if needed?
So this is brought to the Board of Education for discussion and consideration. In the action items, we have a motion directing the superintendent and district treasurer to begin bond sale process, to put together what the actual numbers are the real numbers are going to be.
Right.
What the real numbers are going to be. And put together the resolution and have that in the 1st of November at our November meeting. 1st of November meeting. So the issue that I'm looking at as far as the amount for the bonds, working cash bonds, would be the 7-year issue, $1.4 million issue, and that rate is about 2.73% on the interest. But you can see that produces no increase to the bond and interest levy numbers. There's no increase in the tax rate to the community. There is still considerable room, as Mr. Crabtree said, there's still considerable room that we could. Our debt extension limit is 149, will be 149,000, almost 250,000, sorry, almost 250,000. And our payments are conservative at 217,000. So the issue itself, 7 years, is a reachable goal, and that's in keeping with the discussions we had in June. So that's just where I would like the board to just to start the discussion. So I don't know if we need to wait until that motion, or if you want the discussions now, the questions with Mr. Crabtree. How would you like to proceed?
Probably now with Mr. Crabtree here would be our best directive, so we'll open the board communications up. Comments or questions or statements?
If we did that at the 7 years and put that out there for the public, we could always then go down, like you said, if that wasn't something that was agreeable for the public.
Definitely, and you actually wouldn't be notifying or even locking in anything as to the length of the borrowing. Obviously this example gives you an idea of how quickly you could actually do it more quickly if you wanted more than 37 cents on the levy, but at 37 cents, that would be sort of the fastest time frame that we could pay it off. We could decide later on 2 factors. One, how much to borrow. So that's really the hard decision that needs to be made, what dollar amount to ask for. And then later on in the process, you could also decide that, well, we do want that 1.4 million, but we want that tax rate maybe to go down a little bit over time in case of other projects, or just to give us a little more breathing room and make it a 10-year borrowing, but still only 1.4. I just want to make that clear that you're only specifically asking for the dollar amount, which at the relatively quickest pace would be a 7-year repayment.
And because of the different rules and the rule changes, as Mr. Crabtree talked about, since we have not specifically engaged any financial planner or underwriter, they have to keep this as general as possible, and because there are different rules as to whether or not they're providing financial information, or if they're an underwriter, or if they're doing both at the same time. Those are things that kind of keep this in generalities. So my intent here to start the bond sale process with the district treasurer is to start getting those definitive numbers on these amounts, because these amounts keep us within our current tax rate, and looking at a little bit closer on those interest rates as well. So, and to be able to bring those for a definitive decision to the Board of Education at its first meeting in November.
Okay, is this something that we should look at other companies and get their opinions before we select a company?
Other opinions?
I thought that's what we decided in the June meeting, that we were gonna see who had the best interest rates or something like that. I didn't think we talked about, I mean, I know there was numbers thrown out, but there was no definitive number of how much we were gonna borrow. And I thought that's what we talked about, is see what would be the best, how it would be the best to proceed, which company and things.
First one state or
Okay,
Right.
and
Yeah.
what I heard was we wanted to know the term, 5, 7, 10 years, what that would look like, okay? And in my opinion, we can work well within the tax rate we already have, the 37 cents. So that was my thinking, was to keep the tax rate the same. So there is no increase to the taxpayers.
Right.
All right?
No
So
tax
keeping it flat.
I
So
know this is what
with
some had said, but I personally said I didn't want to borrow any. So I know where I stand.
Okay. But with that in mind, that's where we get the numbers, okay? And if we were to go to and ask First Mid-State or throw out another competitor,
Robert Baird.
Hoobie, Robert Baird or
Yep.
whoever.
You have a whole list.
Okay, yeah. Their numbers aren't gonna be any closer
Be the same numbers.
because you're gonna be generals.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can't be
We're not
specific.
and that's part of the issue is, well, there's twofold. Part of the regulation is that we can't give you more specific numbers because it's, then it would be sort of best liar wins, right?
Yeah.
So it's more to be on the merit of the company at the outset. And of course, we'd be happy to discuss, those merits. But additionally, just by the nature of our financing, it's impossible for any one of us to give you specific rates because those rates are not set until the day of sale. And that's why it comes down to the merit of the company and their ability, your understanding of their ability to bring you the best product on that day of sale.
And the rate that you received on your last issuance was 4.75%. So we're looking at half of the interest rate as well for twice the money with no increase to the taxes. So that's where these numbers are kind of emulating from. And I can't get specifics until we know where we're going and engage a financial company to give us those. But this gives us the outline for the discussion. Ms. Reagan doesn't want to be included in the discussion. Well, she wants to be included. She doesn't want to borrow any money.
I just said I don't understand when we have so much money in the bank, why are we borrowing money? And I understand it's to
I'll
keep.
explain it to you later.
I know, why the tax rates where it's at. I'm gonna be honest with the public. So, is to keep the tax rates where it's at, I understand that, I just don't necessarily agree.
But
That's good.
we have a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed, repaired, replaced, and we can't spend the money that we may need to pay our employees.
Exactly, I understand that too.
Because if we use that money that we have in the bank to fix, repair, replace, and we don't get our money from the state or
Then
wherever,
we're out of
then
luck.
we can't pay our
Our
employees.
boiler goes down.
Right.
Because-
Or the hot water heater in
And
the
then we're out of
kitchen.
luck, I understand that, but then how much money do we need? Because we never discussed, how much money do we
Right,
need?
we have a list of items here, but there's no dollar amounts with any of them. So how do we know how much money we need to
Right.
borrow when we don't know how much these
Well,
things are
we're
gonna
trying to
cost?
get some money, and then we're gonna fix the most important thing.
But what is
That's
that
like
dollar
everything.
amount?
But the other
$1.73 million.
issue is that if we
And I don't agree with
if
it.
we don't,
All right, you don't even want to borrow any money, so I
the
understand.
other issue
One
is
point
that
seven three is maximum amount, why do you borrow the maximum amount? You can just because
Exactly.
just
You borrow
because
what
you
you need.
can. I mean, I just don't understand that philosophy.
We need more than $1.73
We do.
million. Okay?
For what? Yeah.
For what?
He could spend it tomorrow fixing
I
stuff in the
have no
school.
doubt of that.
I can spend it too if it's not my money, and I don't have to pay it back.
I could take you over in that bathroom
It's
right now and
listed
show you
right
where to
here.
spend money.
We do have a list, but like I said, there's no
Uh,
dollar amounts
a
to
brand
any
new
of these
app.
projects.
It's not.
Well, we can't process that, that's part of the process. So he did, give us an idea of why we need these monies. And the rest
Do we
comes
want,
afterwards.
and I couldn't sit here, I could put dollar amounts on there. Would that really mean anything for us? Would that really mean anything? Because I would just be making numbers up.
Well, I don't want made-up numbers, I want real numbers so that we know where this money that we're gonna borrow, where it's gonna go.
Okay, so now you're asking for us to engage contractors and service providers and ask them for quotes and for proposals for certain items and things like that. And that process is gonna take us a lot longer than it's gonna be worth, in my opinion. So, yeah, we can do that.
Do we
can do that.
have
we all know that we need to upgrade our internets.
Yes.
Do we have an approximate amount of the cost of that?
Well, we sat here, 3 months ago and listened to 2 different companies give us, technology issues. You had a written document from the one company explaining all of the different issions.
Right, but no
Right.
money was attached to that.
No money was attached to that, and as I said, Mr. Wendla, what we need, not what I want, but what we need in this school district to bring this school district up to par is well more than what we're gonna borrow, okay? We've got an electrical issue in all of the classrooms down this hallway, all right? So the electrical outlets, and I'm sorry, Tom, this has got nothing to do with you.
No, not at all,
know.
but I will mention that just to maybe facilitate your discussion is just to give you some comfort as well that if you do, again, decide to move forward, even just with the process itself, and then figure out the exact figure along the way, as long as you set the bar at the beginning high enough, you can always come down. No matter what firm you're with, no matter what, that sort of thing. So I just want to give you that comfort to allow you, to.
So whatever amount, let's say the board decides they only want $1.2 million. That's not one of the numbers on here.
Right.
We would take $1.2 million and factor the 5-year, 7-year, and 10-year, and then find out what the rate is and how the payments fall out on that. Right? We can do that very easily.
Yeah,
and that number can change all the way up to the sale of the bond, right?
Right. Yeah, you are only limited by the amount that you ask for
in the beginning,
at the beginning of the
now.
process.
Right.
And
at
you
the
can always
resolution.
come down off of that. That's exactly right.
Okay. So at the resolution, that's our max, and you can change that as we go along, or up until the sale of the bond.
Right.
You can go lower. You can't go higher. Right.
That's right.
That's right. That's great. So, there are, if you want, specific hard numbers today on what contractors are going to charge for all of the projects in the school district, I can definitely make that happen, but it won't be by, November 3rd or 7th, whatever our next board meeting is. Or 4th. That's just not gonna happen, okay? It wouldn't have happened even if we would have started this back in June, July, okay? Because there are, and I guess I've thought I've communicated the issues with our technology and the issues with our facilities and the upgrades and the repairs that are needed, not wanted but needed, just to take care of. We have windows that leak when it rains. How much is it going to cost to repair all the windows in this school building that leak? Well, I know Mr. McCormick was going around with a mop the other week when it was raining, pouring down rain, because him and Shauna couldn't keep up with it all in the classrooms. There are just those things that are in the schools that are at the end of their useful life. Our kitchen, things have not started, well, things have started to go out, the water heater, our dishwasher, the stoves, things are in the 20 to 30 year range right now. I suppose we can wait until they blow up or poof out and don't work anymore. Or we can start anticipating those things and working into purchasing new equipment that needs to be updated. But the big thing, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask a question along with that.
Okay.
So if we borrow $1 million, just say,
Yep. Good.
over 5 years,
Yep.
but can't you, since it's not at the top of our levy, can't you borrow more later if you want it?
He just told
Yeah,
us.
you
Do
can.
another
You can.
bond
Yes.
sale.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
can.
you could, well, and,
So you're not,
Even in
you're
the
not
middle,
locked into
5
that.
years.
You don't wanna go that high and max out.
Right, that's what I'm saying, we're not locked into it.
Right.
I mean, if we start low and need more, we could go back and get more. You don't have to take the max just because,
Right.
I'm having like panic attacks, because I cannot imagine borrowing the max amount of money.
And
You don't
what
want
was the
max
maximum amount?
No, well, yeah, I went to 11, but
3.9,
never the max.
3.8 million?
Yeah, so when speaking about your
3.8
total
million.
capacity, it's the
Yeah.
3.8.
Right.
But that,
I
but
still can't,
mainly you're also constrained by that debt service extension base. So when you're talking about the two main types of financing for projects, whether it be health, life, safety, or working cash, unfortunately, both of those fall under that debt service extension base. So, we could get closer to the 3 million figure eventually with a really long issue, but, this is sort of a more palatable number of
Right.
financing.
And
We-
this also keeps it out of to where we wouldn't have to go and, take this and get voted on, correct?
Correct, that's right, yeah.
Right, and that's another thing that we talked about in June, is to keep it so that we're just bringing it to the public, it's not going before and having to have it voted on.
because of tax caps.
Right.
But the million, so with the 5-year million, keep it at the 37 cents, and it would still not lower it or raise it.
We don't need to have anything voted on for working cash at all.
That's what I mean, it would still would,
But,
it would still keep it at the point 37.
Tom, what's the threshold for the private sale versus
Right.
having to go public? Which
Right.
is a,
Question.
tell
Yeah,
them
different.
about.
Right, yeah, it's a different animal.
I don't know what the threshold is.
It's 2 million is roughly where that threshold of benefit is between the additional cost and the cost savings for overhead. And not that one is better than the other by any means, it's just what is the most appropriate for your sale in managing the overall cost of the issuance. And so, of course, we have no preference. We would love, obviously, to work with you, but from a mathematical standpoint, I just want to also point out that additional issues, whether, one issue over 10 years compared to 2 issues is negligible. But doing an issue this year and then next year would incur additional overhead costs, in the tens of thousands of range, not hundreds of thousands by any means. And just from our perspective, it behooves me to inform you that, of course, the other big item out there that we're facing is interest rate risk. Fortunately, we are at historic lows. We have been saying we're at historic lows for years, so that's wonderful. We just don't know where they'll go. We could be lower next year and be in an even better position. We could be exactly the same, or we could be higher. But that's just something to think about in the way that you manage your long-term borrowing process. Is what are your goals and constraints, between debt limit, costs, and then generally interest rate risks and that sort of thing. So that's just something to be.
Yeah, we've got that window, you've already told us, we've got the window. We start the process, we've got the window, we can
Correct.
get the bids, and then we can say, no, we don't want this much, and bring it down, but
Correct.
you can't go up.
That's right.
Okay. The second issue was, I believe we've all heard that the comment was technology can take all the money. They can spend all the money on the needs of the school district.
I'd like to know what would be in that purchase. I really would. For 1.3 million, we better have a system that rocks after that.
Well, you think about 56 classrooms, and you think about replacing just the 4 computers that are in those 56 classrooms, because the ones that we have now do not work. I will just say, they do not work for the purpose that we need for instruction, all right? And if you want me to parade teachers through here telling you how bad it is, because Mr. McCormick and I and Mr. Jokish and I hear it every day, the need, the instructional need now for classroom computers, new lab computers. Each lab has 25 computers, so there's 50. There's 200, there's 300. All right, so you're looking at 375 new computers. All right, 375 times $800 at the cheapest laptops that I've seen. What's that? There's your $28,000 right there, just to do that. We have a server that is running from it's a 1997 mainframe servers that do not have adequate redundancy, that do not run on current software. We are patching and patching and patching, and as Facet Technology told you, it's so bad they can't even figure out what was going on in there. So, you know, maybe it's a good thing we kept the Wendelin group, because I don't know that anybody would know how to fix the stuff. So we're behind. We have all of those software licenses that will need to be updated. So there's $100 per computer for each program. The costs mount, and even just to get replacements for what we have, and not even going extras, is going to be that amount of money. All right, because we don't have.
Still, you're close to 1.3 million. I mean.
Okay, well, not all of it's going to technology. Okay, not all of it's going to technology. We have a parking lot. You have a parking lot out back that is a swamp, and you need an ATV to go through to bring your kids to school. We need to do something with that.
Isn't that something the board needs to put in priority order, what we want fixed with this money?
I would think so.
You got his list.
Okay.
I don't have a list. Do you have a
You do.
list
It came in your board packet.
of things you want fixed?
Yes.
Oh,
There was a reference. It's not an exhaustive list by any means,
oh, okay.
but there is a small
General,
list that's
yeah.
generally.
But that's on the board's
Here's
list of
what-
priorities that we need.
No.
We haven't done that yet.
So
because we're
regardless of
doing
all
this.
that, we need to do a resolution of intent if we are going to lease these bonds.
Mhm.
And then we need to figure out where this money, what is our priority? What is this board's priority?
That's what I'm saying. How would it be split up? That was my original question. What are we gonna spend it on, and what's it going to? That's gonna depend on how I vote. I mean, if I
On
agree with how it's gonna
the-
be spent,
Okay, is that,
if it's
In
gonna
order
be
to make-
spent for the children and things that are top needed, then
okay. And there's no problem generating those kind of lists, all right? It's just a matter of taking, we have to have the time to do those things and to get them and let the board prioritize. And the issue here is that, do we want to start the process and be able to keep the tax rate for this year, or do we want to wait and work through this to, move this into, a little longer time frame that's going to go past February, so it wouldn't be able to be on our tax levy for this year. So there's the decision, I suppose.
My opinion is we need to do it now.
Yep, we need to.
We should have done it 6 months ago, in my opinion, but now is good.
still
And
have
we need
time.
to
We
decide
have
about
12
how much
weeks.
we want.
And we would need to figure that amount so that we have the resolution come November 4, so that we can stay within that, so.
Does your company produce the resolution of intent?
We would ask Chapman and Cutler, who would be your bond counsel, the legal side, to produce that. And again, just like us, there's no cost for that.
Right.
At the beginning, it's all once completed.
Mrs. Reagan wants it's 3.8, right?
No. I can do the lower amount, because that's just me. I mean, that's just how I do this.
I would tend to agree not to go for the maximum. Stay where we don't have to raise taxes. I would tend to agree to stay in the 5-year, just in case we do need to go out and borrow more.
Something can happen, the tornado
Right.
could come through.
Exactly.
We have a, we have a 10-year life safety survey that will be coming up in 2016. So we have to save that room because we don't know what is coming around
Right.
the corner in 2 years or in a year and a half. So rather than being surprised and not having the money to
Right.
do that, that's why these numbers were conservative in nature, conservative terms, outstanding interest rates. Taxes did not go up, levy stayed the same, well within our debt extension base, and we didn't push the district farther into something that I don't think where we need to go. We can take any amount and put it in 5, 7, or 10 years, right, Tom?
Right.
So that, the time frame, that doesn't matter.
I'm fine with the middle one because we can turn around and ask for the middle with that amount of money and then turn around and say $1 million or $1.2 million and then make it lower with lower number of years. But we need to start out with something, and I don't like 10 years. 10 years is too long.
And then once we ask for the money, we can always vote on how the money is spent,
Oh, exactly.
so that
And I think
Ian
there
is
needs to be,
agreeable.
I think there needs to be. a
Right,
plan.
just because we have the money doesn't mean it's all going to be spent on technology.
Exactly. Well, I think security and all that needs to
Right.
be addressed.
Yeah, because we gotta know what the needs are.
Right.
Exactly.
I have a question. The tax rate for all three are staying the same. If you would go, let's say with the 5-year,
Yes.
or the 10-year, are you guaranteed that tax rate not going up? So does the school have an advantage of keeping the tax rate where it's at?
Right. No, the advantage to keeping the tax rate projected to be the same is for the benefit of the taxpayer, to not see an increase or a decrease in their bill. But you also, in this case, do have the opportunity to adjust that, as I mentioned. So later on in the process, we could choose to stair-step that rate down to allow for something like the health life safety bonds to come online later on without an increase. So that's something additionally that we would discuss about the specifics of the financing and what your long-term goals were as well. So does that answer the question? And then also I do want to mention in that question I also heard tax rate staying the same. It's projected at 37 cents if the EAV does not change over the next 5 years. Obviously, we know it changes a little bit up or down every year. And again, that would be something that we would discuss very specifically in detail with you as to what you are comfortable with, because that's your call. You know your community best. We can obviously provide input on what we think the long-term economy is doing. But you have to ultimately be comfortable guessing at the EAV over the next 5 years.
Right. So if you look at page 18, Ms. Kurt, you'll see that on the left hand there, EAV history, that in 2008 it was at 52 million. 2009 it was at 53, so that was a 1.95% increase. The next year was a 1.1, and then look at that jump from 1.19% up to 11.94%. I don't know that anybody would have predicted that.
Right.
And then the next year was a negative, a reduction in the EAV for a negative 1.33, and then now a negative 2.02%, and then I have this year's EAV and everything, so you can see it's right there. And, you know, that tax rate would only change so that our payment is covered. That's what it changes to. And since we're nowhere near our extension of $249,000 is what we can go to with 37 cents, right?
Yeah, you could even go higher than the 37 cents.
Well, we
If
keep
you
it the
chose.
same. Even if
Right.
we stayed at 37 cents,
Right.
we could go all the way to $250,000 a year payment and not incur a tax increase. So we've got from 217,000 to 250,000, so we've got $32,000 cushion there. So if our EAV changes, we still have a cushion. So our tax rate should not change if we look at the historical changes in the EAV. We should be okay. Am I reading it wrong, Tom?
No, I mean, it's just the reality of we make an estimate if we assume that the EAV will not change at all. But in
that's what
fact,
they've given us is a 0%
right.
change.
And if the EAV goes up, then we'll levy less than 37 cents. If the EAV goes down, you will be required to levy more than 37 cents.
And we don't determine that. That's the
Right.
county assessor's office that determines how much that levy
Right.
penny amount will be, what that levy is. They tell us how much it's going to be
Right.
because we have to cover our bond and interest payment.
Right, the dollars would stay the same.
Right.
We set the payment amount, the dollar, at the beginning, and the rate is what it needs to be.
Because if you look at page 19, excess DSEB on the very end of the right hand, that's the excess extension that we have, extension base. So 37 cents after 2014, we get $249,802, and that gives us a $32,678 cushion in that payment amount. So if our EAV stays anywhere the same and even a little bit of a reduction, we're still going to be covered very well. So it's very conservative. It's at a great rate of return or rate of interest, and I think that's what we would have. Out of that, let's say, Tom, it was a 7-year debt, $1.73 million. That's the total, okay? Out of that, how much do we get after all said and done? Approximately.
Well, that is approximately what you would get. Generally, the costs on something like this are around 2%, generally speaking. But we also have the ability, without getting too technical, we have the ability, depending on the coupon to interest rate ratio, whether we produce any premium on the bond. So those figures should be your general benchmark of how much you could borrow within about a 2% error.
Okay, so that little chart that we looked at, it's got the PV rate and the bond fund's PV amount. In the 7-year column, it's 2.73% on the interest, right? The PV rate, par value?
Yes.
Okay, and so we can expect to see out of that 1.4, we can expect to see 1.32. Is that about right? So, okay. Interesting. So it takes a time. It takes 8 to 12 weeks.
Yep.
We will have a board meeting to approve a resolution of intent if the board wants to move forward. Publish the resolution of intent in the local newspaper. We have a 30-day petition period. 10% of the registered voters in Creve Coeur can sign a petition to have this put on the ballot at the next general election, for the community to vote on, rather than the Board of Education to do. Okay, that's called a backdoor referendum, rather than us doing the referendum for another bond issue or different bonding for a different fund. So there's that process that we have to go through. Then we have a board meeting to hold and have the hearing. We'd solicit the bids, receive the bids, then they would bring those bids back to us. We'd approve the purchasers and the rates. And then we would close on the bond sale 2 weeks later. Anytime up to receiving the bids, I suppose, we could make a change.
That's right.
Okay.
That's
Or
right.
soliciting the bids.
Even accepting the bid. Generally, we ask for a bid of up to. You wouldn't want to move significantly,
Right.
but if we went from 1.4 and then we solicited bids for 1.2, and then we even went all the way down to 1 million, that general range is still acceptable. We couldn't ask for a bid for 1.4 and then only borrow 400,000. That would be sort of a bad bid.
So that decision would be made February?
Right.
somewhere in there?
Yep, the
Yeah,
board would give
January, yeah.
direction
Yeah.
in December and January as to where we're kind of coming in on figures, and then we'd hone in as we got closer. And I also note again, just for flexibility's sake, if a petition were to occur, you could choose to either put it onto the ballot in April or not. You wouldn't have to move forward with a full referendum if you so chose. You could wait till after the April election and then, try this process again or go for a full referendum. But again, you're not locked into a mode of action.
Any other questions from the board table?
Where are we at? What
Well-
have we decided?
Well, I don't know. I don't think there is been a decision. I haven't heard one yet.
I haven't either, so that was my question to Mrs. Strong.
Well, we have a motion coming forward tonight to begin the process, so I guess I just draw.
We can thank Mr. Crabtree and let him go,
Thank you.
I think.
Our pleasure.
And then we'll, in the action items, there is a motion to direct to begin the sale process, or the process sale. So we can take further discussion and action then. Make sense?
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. I will be contacting you.
Very good.
All right. Principals Appreciation Week. Next week is Principals, no, wait a minute. This week is Principals Appreciation Week. So we have a proclamation from the state of Illinois. I should make you guys stand while I read this, but I won't. Whereas school principals play an important role in the education and growth of children in elementary, middle, and secondary schools across the state of Illinois, and, at least put your hand over your heart. Whereas school principals are responsible for promoting education and working with parents and teachers to ensure that each child receives services that meet their needs to excel in the classroom, and whereas it is the responsibility of the state of Illinois to preserve and improve resources for schools so that all students have the opportunity to receive a quality education and foundation for a successful future, and whereas the Illinois Principals Association, which represents 4,400 educational leaders statewide, believes that learning is a lifelong process and that the education of our children is the highest priority. And whereas, for that reason, the Illinois Principals Association is dedicated to advancing student learning through effective and innovative educational leadership development. And whereas the educational leaders face many challenges in educating our young people, and it is through their perseverance and passion that Illinois is able to continue to produce quality, career-ready students. And whereas we must continue to encourage, support, and recognize those who have a positive impact on Illinois students and the educational system in the land of Lincoln. And wherefore, I, Pat Quinn, Governor of the State of Illinois, do hereby proclaim the week of October 19 through 25, 2014, as Principals Week, and October 24th as Principals Day in Illinois, to recognize principals and Illinois Principals Association for all that they do to help our children learn and succeed. In witness wherefore, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the great seal of the state of Illinois to be affixed, done at the capital city and city of Springfield this 13th day of July in the year of our Lord 2014, and the state of Illinois 196th, and the state of Illinois 196th. What the heck does that mean? I'm not sure what that means, guys. So take that for what it is. Set to the seal of Jesse White, our Secretary of State, signed by Pat Quinn, Governor of the State of Illinois. And I have a photocopy suitable for framing for each one of you. See me after the board meeting. Thanks, guys. We really do. Even as much as we give you a hard time and goof around, you guys have a hard job. You do real well. I'm glad, Mick, you're on board. You've been a positive influence here at LaSalle. Mr. Jokish, you're doing a great job at Parkview, and I know that that will continue. So I just want to thank my principals for their service to our school district. So. That's all right. Thank you. Yeah. Audit waiver, next. Mr. Hinton, our auditor, has applied for and was granted a waiver on the date for submission of the district's financial audit. You have the letter in your board packet from the Regional Superintendent Gail Owen, who granted that extension until November 15th per our request. So that was done because of a school district's audit that went much longer than was anticipated by Mr. Hinton, and also the fact that Ms. Cornwell was out for about a week and a half there when it was scheduled to be start. So we had to push it back a couple weeks because of us, because of them, and then when it was all said and done, in my exit interview with Mr. Hinton, I gave him some specifics, regarding the accountability aspects and some of the things that I want, just to tighten this up. I want him to not just do a cursory, okay, school funds here, like an auditor has, could do. I was asking for a little bit more of a closer eye at everything to make sure that we were and are being accountable for all of the tax money that we take in, so that this board is a fiduciary a responsible entity, and that his report will show that, so that it's not so it's beyond reproach any report that we'll get, and that's what I was looking for. That's kind of what's taking Mr. Hinton just a little bit longer, putting a little more spit and polish on it. So that's where that was. Finally, the Student Growth Committee, our design team, we will be meeting next Monday. The 3 union representatives and myself attended a training conducted by the regional superintendent, regional office of education, did a training on implementation and the steps that we need to go through what do we need to do to start this process. And so it was great. It was great to have a little bit of time with some of the union people before we actually got to the official meetings. Because once the official meetings start, then we have 180 calendar days to complete the process. I don't think that's going to be a problem. It just puts us under that time frame, and we have to keep moving along. It can't be a drawn-out process. We just have to keep it moving along. So we will be setting a schedule. We will be developing a communication plan as one of our first points of business. How are we going to get this information out to the staff, the parents, the community, the board? What is it that's important for people to know, and how are we going to get it there, and what's going to be the most effective way to communicate what's going on in the school district regarding student growth and the component of the teacher's evaluation with student growth. So after that meeting, obviously there will be communications and information provided to all of the stakeholders as we move forward. So as we develop that plan and get things going, we'll be able to keep everybody informed of where we're at, so, which is an important thing.
Thank you, Mr. Aldridge. I'll ask the board if they prefer to have a break at this moment or wait until we get to our executive session. Does anybody need one now? 5 to 7 minutes?
Break?
You want a break now or later?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Everybody's fine? We'll go on then. Our consent agenda, we begin by having a motion.
What I'd like to do before we have the motion is call to your attention a couple revisions to the board meeting minutes. There were on page 1, on September 16th, which is a regular meeting minutes under roll call C. There's a misspelling of Miss Bailey's name. At the bottom of that page as well, in item H, there's a misspelling of Miss Cagle's name. We're going to take care of those in those minutes. The September 22nd meeting minutes, there was a misspelling of Miss Cagle's name in item D. We'll take care of that and make revisions. So there was also a request for
September 16th.
I'm just trying to find where it is. Okay, September 16th. Sorry, to go back. September 16th, item E, public hearing. The last sentence is
Should be.
Okay, so what you're asking, Ms. Bailey, is to strike that entire sentence or add on to it?
Either take the sentence out or add all of what I said.
Okay,
Only part of it is there.
Okay.
And either take it out or put the whole thing in. What I said was, I understand where Mr. Giddens is coming from and agree funds should have been dispersed, but it was property tax. Having said that, doesn't make a difference since it was used for the benefit of the school district.
okay,
Just-
There is
okay.
Yeah, that's why
All right,
I
so
thought it in the first place.
Where placed?
Right.
All right, so
Where?
what I would do is suggest that we strike the sentence that is there, and we will include the written sentence that Ms. Bailey just read, and I have it on a in-paper document, so we will get that changed on the September 16th meeting minutes. Sure. We do ask revised. That's the sentence there. Unless there's an objection to meeting minutes as presented and revised, as revised.
We haven't made a motion yet.
Pardon?
True.
We haven't even made a motion yet.
I'll make it.
Oh, so I said we can't.
Yeah, okay. I make a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of the board meeting minutes as presented and revised, payment list, treasurer's report, and student activity fund reports for LaSalle and Parkview.
I second.
Comments?
I do have a question about the activity report, not really a question, more of a comment. Anyways,
Which activity report?
it's on Parkview's.
Parkview. All right.
And it's upside down in your packet, so do the best you can. It's check number 6703. It's just a concern of mine that student council, and I checked with Mrs. Pilkington, and she said student council did approve to pay for the baseballs. My concern is if they start receiving requests to pay for sports items, it's gonna get out of hand. Baseball has their own account, which has funding in it that could have covered this payment, so.
Is it for the baseball team?
She told me that Mr. C is the one that requested it. It says baseball, so I assume it was for baseball.
Where'd he go?
But I, you know, since it was September 16th, maybe it was for PE, but
Mr. Season.
but still,
then the
still,
district should be paying for
exactly.
Yeah, I
It's-
agree.
There he
To
is.
me, it's not a
I
student
agree.
council purchase, you know, and I
Right.
just don't wanna see it.
Because-
Okay,
turn into-
but is that,
Right.
wait. Remember, we had some issues with it being, with things being put in the wrong account
Mhm, but
line,
I
so.
emailed her and she said, this is correct, that
Okay.
it did go through student council.
Okay,
they
I
did
didn't know
approve
that
it.
you had emailed her and, okay, talked about things like that.
So,
Okay, so Mr. Jokish, BSN Sports Baseballs Activity Report, September 16th, check 6703, $93.99 to purchase baseballs, and it was paid out of the student council account. Is
Yeah,
that
it was
correct?
basically because we start off with the same amount, and we went over, they got lost in the field or whatever. And so, student council had previously said that they would purchase additional equipment if needed.
okay, but the
Okay,
baseball
for-
account had $201 in it, so I'm just wondering why it wasn't taken out of their account.
Wasn't it deposited the next day from them for the
No,
concession? Is that,
No, that's concessions, that has
yeah,
nothing to do
but
with
it
that
says
payment.
baseball.
But if
Concessions.
Baseball
student
concessions.
council volunteered to pay for equipment and,
But why should
They were approached to pay for it, that's my concern, is if all the sports start going to student council for supplies, then,
but he said that the student council offered to pay for any equipment that the teams might need, and
And that was just a
Baseball needed
one-time
it.
thing, and typically like the $200 that's in the account, that'll go towards buying socks or something like that.
that's just my concern, my personal concern.
Yeah, we certainly would not want to make it happen that by any means.
Right, because then it's gonna be volleyballs. and-
Right.
Exactly,
I know.
every team's
Where
gonna
you
start,
Yeah.
same thing.
Agreed.
those kids, they just started student council. You come to them and say, can I have, and they're gonna say,
And it's gonna be
sure.
but
pressure.
they have an advisor, so it's not like they're just willy-nilly spending. That's what the advisor's for.
Still pressure.
Yeah.
And on the bills, I see that we paid a lot of payments for the grounds being mowed.
I was gonna say
Are
that
we gonna
2,000 and,
Yeah, there's about 3,000 in here.
No, it's about 2,000 a month, right? It's
Right.
about every week, $500 every week.
So at what
Sure.
point are we gonna try to get that back as a union position, or, because I believe it's costing us more this way.
yeah, did they do cost analysis to see if it's more or less?
It is more.
Is it more? Okay.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Well, I didn't know
But-
if you're factoring the gas, the mower, and the person.
No, I was just looking at the salary in my mind. You know, the gas is pretty negligible, but we will have to, that's the thing, we're gonna have to purchase a new lawn mower, which is that $10,000 to $12,000 expense up front. And if that is if that's the direction that the board would like to go, then, you know, that's fine. We can take care of that pretty easily. And that's a discussion that I guess I wasn't really tendering to bring up until it got closer to springtime, but that's all right. We can definitely put that on the next agenda for the Board of Education.
For the money.
There you go.
1.7 million or the 1.3.
Thank you.
Priority.
Seriously.
That's the
If
kind
the
of stuff
mower
that
is
should be included
$12,000
in
in the
this.
last 5 years, that's $2,000 a year, and if it only costs us like a two.
Regardless, it's still in the
$1,000.
contract.
Right.
It is a union position,
It'd still
so.
be cheaper then. in the long
Yeah,
run.
and it will have to be filled. There's no collusion, no kind of ill will or intent on circumventing the contract from here forward on our emergency.
If you get
So,
someone who will apply for it.
I'm sorry,
If you get someone who will apply for it.
that's a different story, isn't it?
And I see that Parkview Parent Club, the book orders came in for Parkview. Did LaSalle get their books from the LaSalle Parent Club? Do you know?
I haven't seen the book, bill come through.
Well, that's what, I
Yeah,
saw
but-
Parkview
The
several.
laminator has been purchased and is being in use.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Right, I saw that.
And I don't believe that Ms. Bullard and Ms. Duran have given me a final list on their books yet. And I know that the teachers haven't gotten together to talk about their amounts either. So that's just something that we'll just get on.
I just like to get it cleared up and.
Right, it's
Yeah,
very
grade
level,
level,
yeah,
it just needs to be
exactly.
done.
Can I ask a question, and this is clarification, I think I know the answer. But this Tazewell Mason counties, it says special ed, OTPT, psychologist tuition, it is really for services, correct?
Yes,
That's what I'm thinking, I meant, we're not paying someone tuition, we're doing services.
right,
I know,
Yes.
if there's nothing we can do about it.
I know.
I know.
Maybe look at the speech therapist. I mean, there's nothing we can do.
No.
$12,000, I mean,
Yeah.
I was hoping every month.
No,
I know.
but that's why I was thinking, okay, it's not tuition. it's
That's where, no, tuition,
service.
you know, you look at it and we pay, we pay special education transportation.
Gee, that's big.
Yeah, I see that too, it's quite a bit.
A lot of money. And the unfortunate thing is, you know, luckily we get reimbursement on some of that, most of that, but it's still a lot of outgoing money. And it's for programs that are federally mandated, and we don't have much choice. We have made a reduction in the number of students who are in out of district placements. We've done that. So, you know, we're holding tight and trying not to add to those, but, you know, we have to address the students' needs, and, you know, those things, especially the special education things, are a big expense. It's a big part of our budget, sure. Okay, now I just lost what I was supposed to write down here. Okay, LaSalle School, Parent Club, books. Very good. Okay. Will be addressed. Right on 3 different agendas. Okay. Any other questions, I guess?
Any other questions, Mrs. Graham? Okay, comments? Hearing none other, roll call please.
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Pam Griner,
Aye.
Brenda Cagle,
Aye.
Val Reagan, Rebecca Kern, aye, Judy Strong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Moving on to the next action item, H1, a motion.
Make a motion to accept the architect's statement of completion.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, there's one statement of completion for each school district, school building. And these are the indications, they're just the sign-offs by the architect that that the board did indeed do the work that was set out in the 2012 maintenance grant. So that work has been completed now, and these statements of completion go to the Regional Office of Education next, and then to the State Board of Education, so that they know that there's been work done and that it is finished, and then that will get the next step of closing out the grant, and then we'll find out after that sometime what, if any, we have to repay to the State Board of Education.
Comments from the table, please. Hearing none, roll call please.
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Pam Griner, Brenda Cagle, Val Reagan, Rebecca Kern, aye, Judy Strong. Motion carried.
Thank you. Moving on to action item H2 regarding the non-union support staff salary. Anyone wanting to bring a motion?
Make a motion as it reads. Make a motion regarding the non-union support staff salary to increase it by 3%, or as presented by Mr. Aldridge. This is not flat 3%, I'll redo that, strike that. And make a motion,
How about discussion only?
how about discussion?
Can we put the motion on the table first and then discuss it?
That's usually the way we do it.
Just ask for to accept the support staff salary summary as presented.
I make a motion to,
The year, per year,
pardon?
for the fiscal year 14-15. Just add that first.
I make a motion. Don't know how to say it.
Regarding.
I make a motion regarding the non-union support staff salary increase as presented
For fiscal year.
for fiscal year 2014-15. Thank you, sorry.
I second.
Thank you. Discussion first with you. Mr. Aldridge, do you want to address anything there, or shall we go to the table?
I think what I presented to the board kind of sums up my ideas. I encourage the board to provide the salary increases showed on the enclosed chart, and if not, if the board decides, whatever, I guess what I'm asking the board for, and that's the reason I didn't put anything else in here, what I'm asking the board for is to make some kind of a decision. Now that we have completed the union contract, I've been approached by a number of the non-union support staff as to what happens to us. So they want to know, and I think that's fair. and reasonable. So I'm just putting it to the board, and I guess my chart here was just historical, in nature. And so the increase was historical. But basically, we just need to let our employees know whether or not they're gonna have an increase this year. So,
All right, board communications?
I guess my only problem is we gave some people on this list a substantial raise a couple years ago on an individual basis, or at least one person, to bump them up because they were doing extra duties. And so to give every single person the same raise bumps them up even further, because some people are making a lot less than other people. And so I know, I agree that they should not have to have a wage freeze just because others voted to do that. But to give every single person the same increase when they're making substantially more,
okay.
I have a hard time with.
But just a month or so ago, we were in financial distress.
We had no money.
Right. So where did we get all this windfall of money in a couple weeks? We were gonna
Whoever
say.
said that?
It was
Whoever
at a
said
board
that?
meeting that we
What?
didn't have the money, that's why we wanted to outsource the janitors, because we needed money.
No.
I could go back and review the tape, I'm sure it's on there.
To save money, because we need to buy technology. We need to upgrade our technology.
That was the reason given.
It was the reason given to the
For
public.
outsourcing.
Right,
One of them,
because
right.
there was such a huge substantial savings that could be brought by that. And we all know the state is lessening their monies coming in, so that's nothing new.
But with
They chose, the union chose, as Mrs. Cagle mentioned to them. Why did you do that?
No,
The
they
board
didn't
wasn't
choose. We backed
discussing.
them into a corner.
This board
They had no
forced them
choice.
into that decision to try to
I
save
like,
their members.
I like Mrs. Cagle's statement that you should not have made that statement yet. There was no means of doing that from the board table. None of us were going to take an increase away. We've never discussed it, because mainly we hadn't discussed finance. So I like her statement, they, for what reasons they have, did it on their own. It wasn't because of what the board felt needed to be done.
I can tell you're not even gonna listen, Val.
I'm not saying, I didn't say anything, I'm just like, I didn't understand at the meeting the other day that it was said that the reason
You're
that we
right.
wanted the
We were
outsource is
trying to
because
save
we
money.
need money.
No,
Yeah.
That, wait a minute,
trying to
we
save.
even gave up our trip because we need money. We
You're
even
right.
paid the penalty ourselves,
You
wait a
did that
minute,
on your own too.
because we need money.
We were saving
It was
money.
said that,
Okay.
it said.
Yeah.
So we're still saving.
We needed the money, so that's why it was a good thing that we don't take the trip and learn about what's happening out there and get educated, because it saves us so much money so that we could spend it on technology in other places. And that's one reason why we wanted to outsource, because we were saving so much money and that we needed the money. Now, I just don't understand now that we don't need the money.
Nobody said that. Nobody said that.
And
Okay, I'm confused then.
right here, if we give all these people this increase they're asking for, it's still cheaper than your Chicago trip.
No, because next year they'll still have this increase and they'll still get another increase. It's compounded.
It's right there.
It's Valerie math, remember?
It's my math.
$7,000.
That's correct.
And next year it'll be 14,000.
And then you're going to say they're making too much, so
But
let's get rid of them.
I didn't say to get rid
I'm
of
just saying,
anyone.
as these go up, it's the same thing as the janitors though, Becky.
Well, and this
You know, then you say, oh, well, we could hire somebody new and save this much money.
Did you hear the words hire anyone new come out of my mouth?
I'm not talking you specifically, I'm talking, that's the way
No,
this
you did
board
not.
has went in
You
the
did.
past, and I'm afraid that's the way it would go in the future.
We have not done that in the
What
past.
I'm saying is, because one group chose not to take raises for 2 years, the whole rest of the school should not be punished and forced to make that same decision.
But the reason that one group chose not to take a raise is to save jobs, so that they
That
wouldn't
was
be
their
outsourced to
decision.
help us save money.
That was their decision.
But why should the lowest group that's getting paid suffer the most?
Really?
That was their decision.
Yes, really.
Their wages
And
are
some of these
50%
people-
higher.
That,
Some of
Then
these
the
people
some
are
are
making the
$12
same.
an hour.
50% higher compared to their jobs.
Okay, wait a minute. In the school district, some of the lowest paid workers
I'm
are not,
talking
wait a
about
minute, let me
apples to
finish.
apples.
I'm talking apples to apples too.
No, you weren't.
Let me finish.
Go
Some,
ahead.
some of the lowest paid workers in the union chose not to take a pay increase to save jobs. And some of these people are getting paid more, and you're giving them a raise. What we did is the most vulnerable population within our district, we didn't give a raise.
It wasn't vulnerable.
They are vulnerable
No,
population.
it was only one small
Okay.
faction.
How about this?
That's fine.
Let's go back, let's give the support staff 3%. I'll give every one of these the 3%.
I
Not a
agree.
problem. Then we're being fair to everyone.
You know what? They are already making close to 50% more than the districts around them.
And so are some of these people.
I'm just
Some of
saying.
these
Some,
people are
not
making
all.
more.
Some, I said, is the same as in the
I
support
haven't
staff.
compared that, and I don't think you have, so I don't think that's a correct statement to bring forth. I have compared the
I
ones
compared it.
in the union that we just finished. I have done that comparison. But on this one, I haven't done the comparison of
And I don't-
where their wages are.
I-
You can
I-
maybe speak to that.
Yeah, I don't know what another district secretary makes, I don't know what another bookkeeper makes, I don't know what another food service director makes.
Probably
School
more than what
secretary,
we're paying
school
on food
secretary. I don't know what those people in other districts make. That was not anything that really was relevant to my decision here. So, you know, the 3% increase was to start the discussion and to put this in front of the board so that these individuals know what's going on with their salary for, you know, the coming year. And I don't want to just leave them hanging out there, okay? So, you know, I have a lot of thoughts and opinions about all the other stuff, but mine doesn't play into this. What I think is, you know, the board should determine, you know, if you want to do it on an individual person basis, that's fine, that's within your purview to do. Some kind of increase, no increase, or take away. These are non-union positions. If you want to take money away from somebody, you can. Okay, they're non-union. They work for whatever wage they're willing to work for. I'm not suggesting that by any means, but that is your ability. So,
So perhaps we should table it for tonight and get some
Motion's made.
comparisons.
The motion's on the table.
Yes, I know the motion's on the table, but we're discussing. If we go that route of tabling it, then we do the motion, address that motion, and table it.
Mrs. Cagle hasn't said a word.
I don't think she's going to.
I would be very curious to hear what Julie would have to say on the issue, so I think that,
So
Julie's not here, what do you think about the issue?
in my honest opinion, I don't see why that the non-union people would have to be, maybe not a 3% increase, but I don't see why they would have to be punished or be in the same situation
speak up.
as
I know they can't
people-
hear.
the people who decided to take a wage freeze. That was not, I would never have agreed to have frozen their wages.
But they had no choice.
I disagree with you, Linda.
Why?
100%.
Because, Mrs. Cagle, when we were in negotiations, we gave them our proposal, okay? They
Linda,
accepted our proposal without
dis-
any increases.
Agree with you. I disagree
Wrong.
with you. I cannot explain it to you, but I disagree with you. I would never have agreed to that.
Why?
If I was at that bargaining table, I would not have agreed to that.
What would you agree, that everyone kept their jobs and got a pay increase?
I would not have agreed to that.
But that's what a union's about. They look out for each
I
other.
do not care. I would not have agreed to that.
Well, neither here nor there. I don't think they
I
came into
think-
negotiations
I think
wanting a pay freeze.
They all deserved a raise.
Okay, and I suggested,
That is my opinion.
then let's give them all a
Patty and her
3% raise.
people deserved a raise.
Then let's give them a raise, and I'll give these people a raise.
It's over. It's over.
I just
But
don't
I'm-
think
Do we
it's
have a
fair.
signed contract at this point?
I'm telling you that these.
We have a ratified
people-
agreement, yes.
These people,
Yeah. You've ratified it, they've ratified it.
these people deserve a raise. I'm sorry. That's my opinion. So if we can, I would like to see this table, because it sounds to me like this is not going to be agreed on tonight. So if
And
we
so-
cannot discuss this in closed session, I would like to see this
We
table.
could have,
be
we could have.
discussed in
Yeah,
closed
I got
session.
the
I have
idea. We've
never
never
in
done this before.
12, 14 years I've been on here, been asked to do this in open session.
So, there you
No,
go.
we've done it, and then they post it online after we're done, so why wouldn't
Ma-
you
we
discuss
need
it?
a
And then,
motion
and then you
about
get
what?
The
FOIA or
discussion
whatever,
is
so.
executive session.
Exactly.
Anytime you're talking about
Yeah.
personnel, specific.
Well, I don't know,
and-
see, I don't wanna
We're
get
not
another
discussing
Open
names.
Meetings Act violation, because that was
Right,
one
but
of
if
the
you're gonna
issues
do what
about
Mrs.
being
Kern
generic on our.
suggested and give certain people,
Yeah, I
then
didn't-
you
I didn't
have
wanna
to
do that.
discuss it in executive
But we
session.
haven't mentioned any names,
No,
and
we
as soon
haven't.
as
Right.
we,
Be careful.
it's gonna be posted online.
But if you wanna pick and choose, then that belongs in executive session.
Exactly.
I agree with that.
Names, names.
I agree completely with that,
Right.
yes.
You're talking in general right now.
Right.
Yes, because this affects the budget, blah, 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 there are a bunch of different reasons why this needs to be in public,
But
because they're non-union, it's not a negotiation situation, but if we start talking about individual names, and I don't wanna give Ralph 3%, I only wanna give him 1, then we go to closed session.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
And right now, this is all public knowledge because it's on the website.
This?
Pardon?
Yeah, it's IMRF.
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, and my thing is we're keep saying we don't wanna punish these people. To me, it's not a punishment. When the place I work says everyone has to take a wage freeze because we don't have money, da-da-da, I don't look at it as a punishment. I look at it as, okay, everyone just has to do it. So, to say that we're punishing one group over another, it makes it worse than for the union. To me, it's like we punish the union at that point, not these people.
Well, Val, you know what, or Mrs. Reagan, we're not going to agree
Yes, Mrs. Reagan.
tonight. I know, but we're not going to agree.
I'm just saying my
So-
opinion. I don't wanna look at it as a punishment.
That's fine, that's fine.
Right.
I'm not going to sit here and argue with you, but at this point, I'm not gonna discuss it any further. I'm just
Well, let's
saying,
just vote.
you asked me for my opinion, I'm telling you that
You want to withdraw the motion you made?
I would rather say we should table it.
So you would withdraw your motion?
Yeah.
Who seconded that? I missed that part.
I did.
Ms. Kern, thank you.
And you would second withdrawing?
Yes.
All right, so at this point,
Okay.
it's tabled.
H3.
We need a motion to table?
We never have to.
She just withdrew it.
H3, we need a motion, please.
I make a motion directing the superintendent and district treasurer to begin the bond sale process.
A second.
Okay, communications?
Clarification on that motion, please. Meaning what?
To begin the bond sales process?
We have to have an amount in that at this point?
I don't
What
think
about-
so. They
why
need,
do you-
they need to start and put it on the agenda. And he needs to
Then to
We
get an
need
agreement
to-
with the guy that was here tonight.
Is that who we want? Or do we want the other company? I just wanna know what the
I
motion means.
just as soon go with this guy.
Well, what we need, however we do that, the motion that I put here is to get the process going, which is to put together the resolution of intent and then get it in the local paper so that we get the petition period started.
Which the
Okay?
company does.
And,
Yeah, the committee makes a resolution.
yeah, or I can do, doesn't matter,
Company does.
fine.
No charge.
Then-
Yeah, it was free. I was looking at free.
Well, then you're looking that, if you're looking at wanting a company to do all of those things, then we're going to have a motion at some time to engage a financial service.
Correct.
And you have seen Stiefel, you have not seen any of the other companies, so I'm not sure what to say at this point. You know, I can get them, I can round them up and get them in here, and they can be here at our next regular board meeting, our next, maybe the special meeting November 4th, and get them to bring their dogs and ponies in too.
I really hate to use this word, but we have a short window of opportunity here.
So what did you want it to say?
I just want to know what it means.
Okay, what would you put in it is what I'm asking, Mrs. Bailey. What would you put in it to make it clearer for you?
Directing the superintendent and district treasurer to begin the bail bond sale process. I want to know with who, what, well.
Well, we
can't
don't
do
know
much.
how much yet.
Well,
I would
In
just give him
general.
a directive to get started and put the motion on the next agenda.
That's, yeah.
Okay, is that what it
The
means?
information that we need.
Okay, I didn't know.
To get the information that you need.
Okay.
And that way you can put Steeple or whatever on there and.
And then if you want other companies to come in,
I'm okay with him, I just
I'm
asked.
okay with him, but
no. If you want other companies to come in, I just need to know.
But we don't have a lot of time.
So.
We put our resolution of intent on November 4th. We'll get it in the newspaper. We got 30-day petition period. And then we hold a hearing. We don't have to have these guys involved until we make solicitation for bids, and then they do all that stuff. The resolution for intent of notice,
12 weeks is a heck of a
Yeah.
long time.
well,
I
I
mean,
know,
it's a short time, but it's a heck of a
But-
long time. I mean, we've got a lot of time.
but we don't need a specific company to do these first four
you're gonna do-
items.
I know it.
But you've got your plate full,
Sure.
more than full. So,
Yeah, well, let's-
and they said they would do it for free,
Yeah,
so
let's
I
just
would,
let them do it.
I would let them do it
Yeah.
for free. I mean, you've got your hands full with all this evaluation stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Appreciate
the only
that.
thing you want in there would be the company. In
No.
this.
And to
No,
engage
that'll be in the,
So you don't want
in the
any-
resolution.
that'll be in the resolution and that'll be on the agenda when we vote on it.
I just wanted to know what it meant.
Okay, so
That's fine.
H3 is okay.
You're going.
You're okay with H3 motion?
So
All
this is
right.
to basically give you permission to get the resolution in place for the next agenda.
Yep, to get the resolution going, and then if you're wanting to engage, have other companies, no problem, we can have other companies November 4th, because that resolution, you know, we don't have to have their name in it. This is just our intent of having a sale of bonds. We don't have to have their name specifically, or the numbers, or, well, I think we have to have the number, but we don't have to have the name of the company that we're working with at that point. So,
Okay.
Wait a minute,
I'm still confused.
you said we'd have to have the number in the resolution?
He said we would.
And then
The
we can
gentleman said we
lower
could.
it.
That's what I'm saying, so
We
we
can
can talk
lower
about
it, we
it.
just can't raise
Right,
it.
we
That's what I'm
didn't
saying.
discuss that tonight.
that's where we're at, I guess.
Well, then we need to discuss, don't you think, the number? Mrs. Reagan wants the 3 million or the 2 million.
Or the 0.
Yeah, I know. So
But
now we need to
I
come to
thought
a,
I thought when we voted on it on the agenda, that's when we then put out the resolution.
He wants to put the resolution for the next agenda, so we have to
we need
know
to
what the amount
direct
is.
him what number to choose.
Put in there, yeah.
I thought that's what we were voting on the next agenda.
Leave that open in the resolution and we write it in. That's fine too, after discussion. And then that number can change
I know.
at any point.
If you go high, lower.
Right.
I got that.
Maybe that's something that Mrs. Troop needs to be in on too.
Yeah,
so-
we can't vote on that tonight.
Yeah, we wouldn't wanna do that.
Yes, we
without
can.
our
There's 6
board.
board members. You have a meeting once there's 4. If the person doesn't show up, they're just not here.
Okay, but we've been discussing this for 2.5 hours and no one can decide, so.
I'm not saying that, but I just meant we can't vote.
We don't need
And
to
if
have
we can't
it.
vote, if she's not here, then let me
I'm
know
not
next time she's not
saying-
here.
I'm not saying that, I'm saying that we've been discussing it for 2.5 hours and no one can come up with a number.
Why doesn't
not
somebody
been
just come
asked.
up with a suggestion?
I
Did
did 1
everybody
million.
like,
Are
did
you
it-
somebody?
does everybody like
Yes.
Kevin High?
1.3.
You guys like
I
Kevin
would
High?
start
Yes.
at 1.3.
You like Stiefel Nicholas, this Crabtree guy?
And I
Yes.
like 7.
Okay.
Okay, so we're a little far apart.
What do you like, 7 and what else?
Oops, 1.3.
But if, are we borrowing 1.3 or 1.3
Probably
is
not.
what we're
We
getting?
would probably
That's not what
come
we-
down a little bit.
But if we do,
But-
if we even say 7, we don't have to stick at 7 years.
Oh.
We can come down to 5.
Oh, 7 years.
7 years.
Years, that's, yeah, that's.
She doesn't wanna do the
7
10.
years.
I don't
No, I
think
agree.
anybody
I don't
wants to
wanna
do
do
the
the
10,
10.
from what I've heard.
But if you do
True.
the 7 years and you do the 1.3, then we
Let's
can
come down.
decide to come down
down.
to 900,000. I don't know.
Okay,
Exactly.
So,
we're there.
1 million.
Do we-
7-year, 1.3 with Stifel
Yeah.
cycle.
that is my suggestion.
So we
What
Sounds
does
good.
everyone else think?
motion to move.
That sounds
you,
good.
Mrs. Bailey.
That little number thing, that's
It's,
exactly
we don't
fine.
need a motion, we just
Well,
consensus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because we're not
Is that what
voting
you're
on
asking
it.
for?
Yeah.
That middle,
Consensus,
that-
okay.
you can put that in the next agenda.
You have a
Yeah.
consensus, Mr. Aldridge.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bailey.
No problem.
1.3217778. 7 years.
1778, okay,
Yeah.
that's right here.
Vote on
Okay.
this that we got on the table.
So you have a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
So,
To begin the process with the treasurer. Okay.
any other comments? Roll call.
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Pam Griner,
Aye.
Brenda Cagle,
Hell, yes.
Al Bacon,
No.
Ju-
I don't-
Troop's absent, Rebecca Kern, aye, Judy Strong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, moving on to executive session, we need a motion, please.
I'll make the motion to enter executive session for employment of certain employees by the public body. Oh, I don't know, employees by the public body. Why do I have that? That's it?
Changes every time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you want to discuss salaries in there? Because if so, I'm going to add that.
Oh, that was, I don't know, that was withdrawn and tabled.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's withdrawn.
Okay, all right, just asking. So all we're talking about is employment.
Okay,
Okay, in a second,
I
please.
second.
Mrs. Schumer, and roll call.
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Pam Griner,
Aye.
Brenda Cagle, Val Reagan, Rebecca Kern, aye, Judy Strong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
8:24, would you agree?
8:20.
Make the motion to resume regular session.
Thank you.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Pam Griner, Brenda Cagle,
Aye.
Val Reagan, Julie Troop absent, Rebecca Kern, Judy Strong.
Yes. And that's
Motion
at
carried.
8:55, would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. We need a K1 motion, please.
Make a motion to place Drew Jacobson on the substitute custodian list.
I second.
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Pam Griner,
Aye.
Brenda Cagle,
Aye.
Val Reagan,
Aye.
Rebecca Kern, aye, Judy Strong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
We need a motion, please. And another one?
Make a motion to place Brent, help me out,
Weiss Hop.
Weishaupt on the substitute custodian list.
Second.
Communications at all from the table? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Pam Griner,
Aye.
Brenda Cagle, Val Reagan,
Aye.
Rebecca Kern, aye, Judy Strong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. We need a motion for K2.
Make a motion to place William Combs on the substitute teacher list.
Second.
Table communications. Hearing none, roll call please.
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Pam Griner,
Aye.
Brenda Cagle,
Aye.
Val Reagan,
Aye.
Rebecca Kern, aye, Judy Strong. Motion carried.
Then we need a motion please. Oh, wait a minute, I think before we do that,
Yeah, you-
Mr. Aldridge wanted to.
Just a information piece. Yeah, I was questioned about the discipline at Parkview Middle School. And so I had them make the report and look at the average referrals for the days per month of multi-years. So 2012, 13, 13, 14, 14, 15. And you can see that the table there, if you look across, you know, except for, you know, a very slight variance, but September in 2013, 14, other than very slight variances, referrals are down last year, and they're down this year in the months that we have recorded. So I don't know what happened September last year, but we had 34 as opposed to 17 the year before. The rest of them are pretty much negligible. So I guess I just wanted to make the board and the public aware that the positive behavioral interventions are, you know, this is the data that shows that things are going well at Parkville. I didn't do LaSalle.
These are teacher referrals?
These are all referrals. So these are teachers, these are bus teachers, other staff. What are the other categories? Holly, do you know? You remember?
Yeah, it would be,
Well, they look
lunchrooms.
at the lunchroom, they look at the bus,
Yeah,
they look at classroom, they look at
PE recess.
PE recess, hallway,
transition
classroom.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
they look at everything.
So
Right.
far, in the month of October, we've only had two.
Awesome.
Now, I'll correct that because this report was run on October 16th.
Okay, for half a
and
month.
That's pretty good.
And I've received 2 more today. So, 4.
Excuse my ignorance.
Apparently
but
yours is
why 2
fast.
papers?
Because you have mine.
All right, I kept thinking, why 2?
Sorry.
So this includes fights, if we had any.
Fights, gum throwing, or gum chewing. Well, I guess they can chew gum in class, I don't know. Yeah, this is all disciplinary referrals. If a
On that recorder.
teacher, or actually, if an adult didn't like it and they sent them to the office, it's on here.
That's pretty good. There's only 2 the whole month of October.
4 now.
Half a month.
Well,
4
that's
on the
good.
21st.
Well, compared to 34, the year
So this
before.
is everyone sent to the office regardless if any discipline is issued.
It's referrals,
Any
right?
referrals.
It's the number of referrals. Number of referrals sent to the office.
Wow. Impressive.
It is what it is. Now, there are, I mean, we can get real specific and we can look at, you know, individual classes and we can look at individual students and we can look at, you know, I can break it down. Swiss can break it down any way you want it. But this overall, really, you know, we use that data to see where we need interventions. You know, is there stuff going on in unsupervised PE locker room that we need to look at? Is lunchtime, you know, in the cafeteria a place we need to look at? You know, we use the data that way. And I would say 80% of the referrals come from the classroom. So those unstructured times are not so bad.
Okay. This is probably nitpicking, but let's say there is a fight.
Mhm.
Do both count as a referral, or just the one that instigated the fight?
Both referrals. If the teacher writes it up,
Okay, so there's.
both
that
referrals.
explains a little bit more.
What? I didn't hear
Explains a
you.
little bit
Yeah,
more.
we're just
Okay.
talking about it.
So there's two.
Okay. So yeah, there are incidences where, you know, in the past, like last year, I will receive, you know, 4 referrals or 4 disciplinary actions for one incident. You know, that has happened. You know, last year that did happen, yes. And anything that results in a disciplinary consequence is in here, and actually those come to me as well. And if I have, you know, any questions, I investigate and talk to the principals about it.
So this is all referrals, not just results in disciplinary action?
Right, this is all referrals. All
So like
referrals.
every Friday you get discipline reports, or every Monday, or?
The day after they're done.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they send them over after.
So 14 in the month of September,
Yep.
compared to last year, 34.
34. I know. I don't know what happened in September last year. That's weird. So, but you can see, I mean, it looks like we average about 25, 26 average a month. I don't know what that equates to with the number of students that we have, you know, compared to other schools, but, you know, to me, we can get national data on the graph if we want it. To me, that's not bad.
Two, that's excellent.
So, that was just an informational item. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to digress.
Are you ready for a motion to adjourn, Mrs. Strong?
I would like that motion, please.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. Any communications?
I would like to thank Mr. Aldridge for this teacher evaluation. Thank you, and whoever copied all that.
That's what Stephanie was doing when when we were doing these things. Yeah, and we need them because we have to get them out to the committee, and everybody needs this information. There'll be 1 or 2 at each building, teacher's lounge, so that the teachers have it. You know, we'll have them on public display at the office. I'm not going to copy all this for anybody, but they can come in and look at it for sure. And all of it's on websites, you know, and I'm going to send them the website. Sorry.
Okay, any other comments? Roll call, please.
Linda Bailey.
Aye.
Pam Griner.
Aye.
Brenda Cagle. Val Raymond. Rebecca Kern. Judy Strong.
Yes.
I know.